Well, hello everybody. I have had one of the most crazy weeks of my life and I can't wait to talk to you about it here on this video. So I will be doing two videos about the birth of our daughter. Yes, we had a girl. I am so over the moon that I get to have two little girls, and I can't wait to tell you more about her, how she was born, and all that good stuff. So just know that this video will be all of the whole labor and delivery story. And then I will be doing a second video talking about what it has been like to have and recover from an emergency C-section. So you'll probably notice I am still a little bit hoarse. We will get to that. I'm very puffy. We will get to that. But I did have a baby girl. Her name is Sadie. She was only 7 pounds 3 ounces. So I know that the doctors were really worried that she was going to be really big, and then they weren't as worried after they did an ultrasound, and she came in at a whole 7 pounds 3 ounces. So she was not overly big, which was a really big sigh of relief because I felt like I did absolutely everything in my power to keep my weight healthy, her weight healthy, with having gestational diabetes. And I'm just so glad that she is healthy and here, and I'm just crazy about her. I hardly let her out of my arms. Just ask my husband. He hardly gets a chance to even hold her. So anyway, she was born on Thursday, February 28th, the last day of February. Thank heavens it wasn't leap year. Otherwise, I probably would have rescheduled my induction for a different date. But I had an induction scheduled, and I'm going to tell you all about what happened. So we had to be to the hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my husband and I walked over, and we were just so excited. You know, okay, this is the day. I hardly slept the night before, and I was ready. So when I got to the hospital, they told me that I was dilated to a 3 and 75% effaced. Well, the week previous, I went in on a Friday thinking that I was totally in labor, and I was dilated to a 3, and they said 80% effaced. So you know how it is. It's depending on what doctor checks you and all that, it can have a little bit of a variation. It's not an exact science, but I was like, man, I totally thought that I would have progressed a little bit, but alas, I didn't. So they started by breaking my water. They broke my water at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and we talked about what I wanted, kind of how I wanted the labor to go if I had it up to me. So I felt like I had a really good chat with the nurses, kind of explaining to them that my other 2 labor and deliveries had a lot of interventions involved, and I was so afraid of pain during my second labor and delivery that I got an epidural before I even got Pitocin to help kind of steady and make my contractions more consistent. So I told them that I didn't want to get an epidural until I absolutely couldn't stand it anymore. And I wanted to see if I could get the contractions going on my own. So that's why they started with just breaking my water. I walked for like an hour, hour and a half. I sat on the ball, no change, nothing at all. So the doctor came in, and by the way, breaking of my water did not hurt at all. It took a couple tries, and they finally got the hook in the right place and broke the water, and it was just a really weird feeling to have all of that waterfall flowing, but it did not hurt. I had read online that it hurts some people, but it did not bother me at all. So I just wanted to put that out there. So at about 11 o'clock, I had been on Pitocin for about an hour. They started me at a 1, and every 20 minutes they bumped it up until I was at a level 5 of the Pitocin. I don't really know what that means, but that's when my contractions started to come, and they were coming at regular intervals. They were consistent. They were doing their job. And I had expressed to my husband that if I thought about what I wanted to have with me to help me cope, it was really loud music and to be able to sing along and not be embarrassed and to be able to just listen to really loud music. So I had downloaded a bunch of songs, some Florence and the Machine, Alanis Morissette, some Sia, some Lady Gaga, and I had my headphones, and the contractions got very steady and they were very painful. They definitely had me gritting my teeth, taking my breath away, but I just turned my music up. And as long as my music was up and I was kind of moving my arms and just like almost breathing with sound. I don't know how to describe it, like moaning in pain. I was able to get through them. And there was a really special moment between my husband and I where he just looked down at me and he could tell that I was in like tremendous amounts of pain. And he looked at me and I looked at him and our eyes locked and he just started crying. And he had been holding my hand the whole time. And I started crying. And I could tell that if he could have done anything to step in and take the pain away from me, he would have. And so I did not think I was going to get emotional. That was a really tender moment, and that's when I lost it. And I started crying through the contractions because they hurt. And it was kind of like, well, this is it. This is what has to happen. Oh my gosh, I'm like emotional. Okay, I will try to pull it together. But that was a really memorable moment to just look into my husband's eyes and see him wanting to take away my pain and knowing that he couldn't. And we had a really incredible experience backpacking together before we had kids. And we got to the hardest part. We were both exhausted, but we like got to the summit and it was the most incredible sight ever. And we just held each other and cried. And it was really a special experience. And both he and I said, it was like that time that we were on top of Hurricane Pass looking out at the Tetons, and we both said that. So, I don't know, I just feel super connected to my husband. He's my best friend. I don't always like talk about like my husband and how much I love him on this channel, just because there's like other things that I'm talking about, but our connection is really deep, and it was really special to have him there holding my hand the whole time, encouraging me to listen to my music as loud as I wanted it. So after about 45 minutes to an hour, I told the nurses, I think I'm ready for that epidural, because I knew that if I was going to be in labor much longer, that it was going to turn into like a really negative experience for me, because the pain was really starting to get to me. And those contractions were coming, they were coming hard and fast. So they checked me and they said, oh, you're at a 7. And I was like, well, that's great. So I went from a 3 to a 7 in about 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere around there. They got the anesthesiologist in there. It took him a little bit of time to like get there, prepped. The epidural went in, no problem. Of course, I had to wait till there wasn't a contraction. We were waiting through that. He got the epidural and he kept encouraging me, okay, the next contraction is going to be better. It's going to be lighter, that sort of thing. And he was right. Luckily, I could use my legs. It was like perfectly placed. It was amazing, but I wasn't feeling the contractions anymore. So he got the epidural in. And as I was waiting for those contractions to get lighter, I was like, okay, I'm having a lot of pressure with these contractions. And they're like, okay, well, let's lay you down and check you. And they checked me and they said, oh my gosh, you're already at a 9. And so in roughly an hour, a little bit longer, hour and so, I had gone from a 3 all the way to a 9. So at some point, I got the epidural like right in the nick of time, because they had told me if you get to an 8, it's probably going to be too late for you to get the epidural. So I really feel like everything just like happened perfectly for how I wanted it. And then they called the doctor, and the doctor got in there and said, okay, let's start pushing. And I was pushing through the contractions and I was giving it my all. So if you haven't given birth before, the doctor was having me practice like breathe in like you're going to go underwater, and then you push and then come up again like you're going underwater. Take a deep breath, then you'll push for 10 seconds, and then you'll do that 3 times. So each push is actually 3 pushes, and they have you do that during a contraction. So the first and second push were fine, and then I started to notice that they were really concerned about her heart rate, and I started to feel like I was going to pass out. They had at some point inserted a fetal heart rate monitor that was like on her scalp and a monitor on my uterus, so that they were measuring the intensity of the contractions, and the external fetal monitors were not doing a consistent enough job to make the doctors feel comfortable. So that's why they had done the fetal heart rate monitor. And I'm so glad that they did that, because once I started pushing the 3rd time, her heart rate like really tanked. And so they actually got the vacuum. I am nursing her right now. Let me just get myself covered. Here, give a little sneak peek. This little nugget. Oh, she's so precious. I know you can't see her face, but we'll get there. So where was I? So I was feeling like crap. Her heart rate like totally plummeted. And I pushed, they said, okay, we're going to let you push a 4th time to see if we can get her down the birth canal. He used the vacuum 2 times trying to help her. And then I was starting to feel like I was going to pass out. I felt really sick. I felt like I was going to black out, like I was barely maintaining consciousness. I could hardly push. It was really weird. And I got through that last push and they're like, okay, to the OR. And the nurse was looking at me, like eye contact the whole time. And because I was having such a hard time remaining conscious, I wasn't freaking out. I am really glad that the doctors had kind of prepped me thinking that I might need a C-section, because then I had read about them. I felt like I was in the best hands possible. My doctor, I love him. He was so calm and collected and professional. He was not panicking. They literally took me out the door through another set of double doors. They put oxygen on me and I was laying there and the nurse made eye contact with me, and I knew that I had to get from the bed to the operating table. Like, we just kind of communicated. It was very, I don't know, it just was really smooth, and I could still use my legs. I wasn't totally numb, and so I actually just plopped myself onto the operating table, and the anesthesiologists were right there. They were kind of fiddling with my IV sites because some of them had collapsed, and so they were trying to find a good IV. That was like the only moment of panic. So they were trying to get me under, but there was a lot of talking, a lot of, just tons of people came into the room right at the right time. And then they said, okay, you're going to fall asleep. And I remember feeling so relieved because I was feeling so close to blacking out and having a hard time breathing, that I was like relieved that I was gonna like black out from that point on. And I just said a prayer, Heavenly Father, like, you have to get me through this. I have a husband and 2 kids, and please bring this baby safely and keep me alive. And then the next thing I knew, I was out. So what had happened is they got her out in 4 minutes. So they said that they had 5 minutes to get her, once they left that room to the time she was born, was 4 minutes. And they said that they're not exactly sure if she was holding onto the cord or if something had happened to where the cord was clamped, or if I was having like a vagal vaso response where I was pushing so hard that I was affecting my blood pressure, which is affecting her blood pressure. But either way, her blood pressure tanked and it was not looking good, and they had to get her out with an emergency C-section. So I went totally under general anesthesia. They did not have time to prep me for just using like my epidural site to numb me. There just wasn't time for that. They said that they literally put me out, like they called it splash and dash, like splashed me with all the antibiotics and cut me open and got the baby out. And my husband was not in the room. And so they were communicating with him back in the room that I had been in during the first part of labor and delivery. And they brought her to him, and he got to hold her skin to skin for an hour. They gave her a bottle. Apparently I lost a little over 1 liter of blood, which is about double what people typically lose. So I had kind of a lot of blood loss, so they were kind of doing some tests to see if I needed to have a blood transfusion. Luckily, I did not have to have a blood transfusion. There was also some extra stitching or tearing that the doctor had to stitch up involving my uterus. I didn't really, it was like too medical for me, and I knew it wasn't like a big deal, but my husband got briefed that I was okay, and I was in the recovery and getting stitched up for about an hour and a half. So she was born at 1:15. I woke up at 3:30, and they told me that it was a girl, and I like freaked out, and I was so excited. And then they took me from recovery back to my room at 4 o'clock, and that's when I got to hold my little baby. I just love her so much. And see, I don't want to wake her up, but I'll see if you can see this cute little nugget. Oh, she's just so sweet. Look at those She's like 90% cheek, 10% body. They said she looks a lot bigger than 7 pounds, and it's just because she's got her little cheeks. So, yeah, my husband said that he held her and knew exactly what her name was going to be because we were picking between Scarlett, Charlotte, and Sadie. And he said that he like instantly knew that it was going to be Sadie, but he wanted me to hold her. And he said, okay, you've held her. What do you think her name is? And I was like, it's Sadie. And he was like, I feel the same way. So that was really special. And I just got to hold her. And breastfeeding has been great. She latched on right away. She latched like really naturally, which is a relief because with my other 2 kids, there were latch problems and I had like so much nipple trauma and breastfeeding was so painful. I would cry, and this time it's been so much different. It's been so easy to nurse her, and she has just been the sweetest little baby ever. And I'm feeling really good emotionally so far. With both of my other babies, the postpartum depression hit hard, like really early on. And I'm not saying that I won't develop it later on, but so far I've just felt really good emotionally, even after going through the trauma of a C-section. But so far my recovery has been good. I feel super swollen. What's funny is that I was just curious. I'm like, I just feel so swollen. And I got on the scale and I'm literally 8 pounds heavier than when I went to the hospital to deliver her. Is that not crazy? Usually with the other times, like I usually like wait a week, you know, wait for the fluids to drop. And both of my other pregnancies, I'm pretty sure I lost like 20, 25 pounds in 2 weeks. So I was like, whoa, never seen that number before, even being pregnant. So I am super puffy. I can't get shoes on. You should see my ankles. They're like the size of tree trunks. But I'll talk more about that in the recovery from the C-section. So I'm feeling really puffy, and I'm still on pain medication. And so I'm feeling a little bit like unanimated, not 100% myself, but overall, like pain wise, I'm doing fine. I mean, like the incision definitely gets sore, like when it's about time to take my pain medication again, but it's not like nearly as bad as I expected. So anyway, this is little Sadie. We named her Sadie Lee. I think I said that already. See, I don't remember. Lee is after my mother-in-law. Her name is Laura Lee, and so we named her Sadie Lee Anderson after her grandma. So I'm going to enjoy my little snuggles while she finishes sleeping. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing all of the details about how she was born. I feel so thankful that she is here, so thankful for all of you and all your kind comments and well wishes and texts and messages and emails wondering how I'm doing. And I just have the best subscribers. I don't think of you guys as subscribers. I'm like, we're friends and family and support group, and I just really appreciate every single one of you. So I will see you in my next video. Bye.